Guys, what an epic fight. I had picked Max Holloway, and what can I say? I was wrong. Ilia Topuria was able to knock out the man all of the who's who hit and couldn't knock out. He did it. Guys, I said to you, I think there's only one way Ilia can win, and that's by knockout. And of course, I said, yes, it's possible. I just don't see it. I can't see Max Holloway laying down on the mat unconscious or having the referee have to come in and save him. But it happened. Ilia Topuria is probably the best pound for pound puncher in MMA today. He just knocked out Alexander Volkanovski, Max Holloway in the same year. 2 devastating knockouts. The man packs more power than anybody pound for pound. It's incredible. He took out 2 of the most resilient fighters there is. Fighters who fought at 155 and took shots at 155. Yet the 145er Ilia Topuria is able to KO them, or TKO them if we want to get technical. Incredible performance. Guys, there was also Khamzat Chimaev. He put on a mandible choke. A mandible choke is when you wrap your arm around the guy's chin, the mandible bone here, and you crush that bone. Usually you get a tap. He didn't get a tap. He didn't just get a tap. He was able to break Whitaker's jaw. Like shatter his teeth, break his teeth inside, okay? Like, that's just an insane amount of power. He was able to take Whitaker down immediately. Now, I know I'm supposed to focus on Topuria and Holloway, but this was such a stunning performance. He took him down. Even though we all know he shoots in the first few seconds, nobody could stop him. Nobody can stop him. He did it to Usman. He did it to Whitaker. He did it to, well, Gilbert Burns was a bit different. He did take him down in round 1, if I remember correctly. He did. But Gilbert, played guard and he kind of let him up. But it's just so vicious how he can get the fight down to the ground immediately. And now he looks better than ever. Chimaev looks better than ever. Guys, what can I say? Round 1, I had Topuria win. I saw one during the fight that, when they highlight those tweets on screen, 3 out of the 4 were giving it to Max Holloway. I don't see it that way. I saw Topuria win round 1. Round 2, when I was watching it live, I gave it to Max Holloway. Now I rewatched it just before going live now, and it was close. I think I might still give it to Max, but it was close. Round 3, we only had about 90 seconds of action, okay? But we all saw what happened. Topuria lands a big right hand, then tries to flurry. Max Holloway kind of covers up a little bit, runs to one end of the cage to kind of protect himself, and Ilia just stayed on him, kept catching him, throwing a flurry of punches, and then that big hook on the chin that dropped Max Holloway badly. The referee did a good job in stepping in. Guys, what can I tell you? I could tell you I think Ilia Topuria is going to be a champion for a long time. Why? Because the next guy to fight him at 145, Ilia's still getting better. Lopez might have a shot, but this is going to be far, and it's going to be a tough one. It's going to be really tough for him. Technically speaking, Ilia, I think, is superior. Movsar, I don't know if the UFC is going to give him a chance to fight Ilia. I don't think they want a wrestler who's just going to grab on Ilia and just hold him down and just kind of hold him. I think there might be a stylistic thing that the UFC might put Movsar on the shelf for a bit. He's supposed to be fighting Alexander Volkanovski next. That's a tough one for Volkanovski. After what I saw last Saturday, it looks like Ilia's gotten better. Now, look, I don't want to say that there was no path to victory. There was a path to victory for Max Holloway. I just rewatched the fight. Those oblique kicks that Max Holloway was landing. Max Holloway also did tag him well. He did. Statistically, Max was ahead on strikes. Now, the power strikes came from Ilia. The volume came from Max. It was close. But I did see some promise in Max Holloway's oblique kick. He was oblique kicking. Even the commentators were oohing and ahhing at one point. And he was hurting Topuria's leg, or at least he was hurting his knee. At the very least, Topuria was worried about his knee getting cracked. There was definitely a path to victory for Max. What I didn't like what Max did is he went from orthodox to southpaw. He kind of switched stance, and Ilia threw that right hand as he was switching stances and went down the middle. I think he switched stance because Ilia was hammering his leg, just crushing his leg. That's been the weakness of Max Holloway in the past, his leg kicks, just eating leg kicks because of his boxing stance. He seems vulnerable to leg kicks, and Ilia started kicking him from round 1 all the way through round 2 and early in round 3. All right, guys, what can I say? I was incredibly impressed. I thought Ilia, it was incredible that he knocked him out in round 3. I thought after round 2, Max is more in the clear, because volume started coming out. And even though it was tight, I thought Max is going to run away in round 3 and 4 or 5, especially 4 and 5. Those would be his rounds. Ilia did have a nice takedown, but I didn't make much of Elia's takedown. He took Max down early in round 1. I didn't think there was much to it because Max is just going to keep getting up. He's hard to hold on. He's hard to sub. It's just going to be more effort for Ilia. I think Ilia was wise not to go to it too much. Doing it once in round 1, I think, was good to keep Max guessing. However, it was probably it was going to be tough for Ilia to get some good ground and pound or some submission. Okay, guys, with that said, I'm going to move it now to comments and questions. Those are my early thoughts on the fight. Guys, by the way, this is going to be a bit of a short episode because I have a very early flight tomorrow. And just a reminder, guys, when you go to jiu-jitsuclub.com, use level up 50 off and get 50% off anything on jiu-jitsuclub.com. I just released front headlock attacks, front headlock defense, 2 new videos. Okay, how to guillotine, how to darce, how to anaconda, how to defend the darce, how to defend the anaconda, how to defend when somebody's trying to take your back from front headlock. It's a fantastic 2 sets of video. Make sure to check it out. Get 50% off. The description is in the promo code is in the description. It's on the bottom of your screens. Make sure to type in the promo code level up 50 off. Get 50% off. All right, guys, like always, I'm doing super chats, non-super chats. I will be doing both main and co-main event. Okay, let's talk about both because I know we won't be able to skip over Khamzat's incredible performance. It was just too stunning. I'm going to do comments and questions, guys. Like always, I'm doing super chats and non-super chats. I'm going to get every single super chat tonight, okay? I'm going to put a premium on them, make sure I don't miss. Hello, coach. I predicted round 3 KO for Ilia in my video. Ilia is a fighter of the year. 2 GOATs in 1 year. Who has more KO power at 145? McGregor or Ilia? MMA Flacco, guys. Make sure to follow MMA Flacco. He gave you a correct prediction. Round 3 KO. Who has more power, McGregor or Ilia? I would tell you Ilia, man. I would tell you Ilia has power in both hands. Or was McGregor was more the left. Okay, now McGregor, was a different style of punching. He was more of a counter puncher. Ilia is more of a, I would say he has good counter punching, but he's incredible at flurrying. Very good flurries. Whereas McGregor was more of a counter puncher. Both excellent styles, but if I had to pick one guy who has more power, I will pick Ilia. And Ilia is scary with both hands. He can knock you out with the right. He can knock you out with the left. He's a very, very dangerous puncher. Okay, what else we got here? Let's see here. Okay, we got another one here. Did you expect Chimaev to be dominant against Rob? ? Rob was defending well until he didn't. LOL. He's like the double. He likes the double to shrug by the rear body lock and leg riding. I want to see Khamzat in round 4/round 5. That's from Sufi Mir. Look, that's the big question. The thing is with Khamzat, he's so devastatingly dangerous in round 1. It's crazy. Like, he takes people down and subs them. But the guys who got out of round 1 and 2, Gilbert Burns, Kamaru Usman, showed that, he's possibly slowing down in the later rounds. Not possibly, he actually does slow down in the later rounds. But of course, now he's been training at altitude from what I understand. He has some new coaches. He's addressing that. He's not crazy. He's a very intelligent guy. Of course, he's got a great team around him. Time will tell. Training at altitude can make a massive difference. It could be life-changing, career-changing, It can make a massive difference in his career. You're learning to be more efficient with air. You're working hard. He's a hard worker. I've heard Khamzat Chimaev trains all day long. He trains too much. I heard that he overtrains. Really, overtraining is his problem. So I think, he's going to learn to adapt to rounds 4 and 5. It's a matter of time. He's a tremendous athlete. Look, I've met the guy in the flesh. I've met him in person. He's a very, very imposing athlete. I didn't wrestle the guy. I didn't train with the guy, but just meeting him, just seeing him in the, in the back of the UFC, like in the arena. Like, the guy is huge. He's an incredible athlete. He's a towering man. You could tell there's just something about his physique. Like, he's a beast. Okay, so I think he's on his way to being world champion. Now, he might not win every fight. Okay, he might have a bump here or there, but he'll eventually, I think, be wearing the strap. It's inevitable, I think. Well, I would say inshallah, because you never know what can happen. But we gotta see. There's a lot of question marks, especially rounds 4 and 5. But round 1, guys, nobody's more dangerous in round 1 than Khamzat Chimaev. Nobody. Okay, guys, I'm doing super chats and non-super chats. I screamed for 20 minutes when Khamzat won. Crazy. That's from Adam, bro. Adam, bro, screaming for 20 minutes. Wow. Sam, coach, how do you think Khamzat would do against Riley Reid? Riley Reid. Who's Riley Reid? Let's see. Okay, that's some girl. I don't know. I don't know why you're asking me that. Ilia versus Islam. Khamzat versus Dricus. That's from the Caribbean. I would pick Islam over Ilia right now. Okay, I think Islam's really smart. He'd get in the legs. He'd start wrestling him, body locking him. You know, he'd game plan his way to use his wrestling, burn out the smaller fighter. I really like Islam in this fight because he's bigger. You know, he's just bigger. He's big for 155. So this would be a good fight for him. And Khamzat versus Dricus. Eesh, that's a tough one, man. Right now, without going through all their footage, I'm going to pick Khamzat. Topuria is Islam's toughest fight at 155. That's from Jonathan. It could be. That could very well be. Could very, very well be. Ilia is too small for Islam. They should stay in their weight classes. That's from Janks. Well, you know, Topuria did say the whole division sucks. You know, after his post-fight interview, he's like, oh, everybody sucks at 145. Which I don't think is the right thing to say. It's not classy. You know, even if it was true, even if you're thinking that, even if you're like, hey, I'm better than every single guy in this division. It's not a nice way to talk, you know, in my opinion. It's not cool. So if everybody sucks, go up to 155, you know, like if you want to challenge, you know, because if you're telling everybody sucks, why are they going to watch your fight fighting a guy who sucks, you know, like it's kind of a weird way to promote your next fight, you know. Coach, I don't think Max did anything wrong. It just seems Ilia imposed his will and landed the perfect combination. That's from Nitro 33. See, I don't like that kind of stuff when people say, he imposed his will. What does that mean, he imposed his will? But how did he impose his will? Like, did he ask nicely, or did he point his finger at Max and make Max like sit? Like, what do you mean he imposed his will? What does that mean, he imposed his will? No, he moved his head out of the way when punches were coming towards his head, and he connected punches that Max couldn't evade. That's what happened. He didn't impose his will. What does it mean, impose your will? That's just like noise. I don't understand what it means. He imposed his will. He imposed his will. Well, you want to impose your will. You got to know how to impose your will. There's a, you know, like, I want you to change your tire. And I want you to impose your will on the tire. I want you to impose your, what does that mean? You still have to jack up the car and undo the bolts. Like, you still have to go through all the steps. What does it mean, impose your will? It's just like jargon. It's just jargon. It doesn't mean anything. Trust me, from a guy who studied logic for over 20 years. You know, like, I need you to elaborate. What does that mean, impose your will? Like, if you had a math problem, you had a math test, would you go impose your will on the math test? Or you know the answers, you don't know the answers? What is it? Which one is it? I imposed my will. Like, that's just noise. Sufimir, you're asking me, did I expect Chimaev to be that dominant against Rob? Yes, in round 1, yes. Round 1, round 2, like everybody, you know, I'm thinking my question mark is round 4 and 5. You know, that's the thing, you know. But he was able to sub Whitaker. He was able to dominate him completely. And not just sub him, man. Whitaker was defending. He went through the jawbone. It's just, that's insane. Now, maybe that's what you mean by imposing his will. No, man, he was strong enough, and he knows how to do a mandible choke, and he broke the mandible. He was strong enough to break the mandible. He might be the greatest featherweight GOAT. That's from Edward Eric. Yes, this is very true. Now, I'll tell you something. When Jose Aldo lost to Max Holloway, I was like, no, Jose Aldo's still the GOAT of the featherweight, and Max is the new champion, but there's a time for Max to do more than what Aldo did. It was still too early to say that Max was the GOAT. Just because you beat the guy who was once upon a time the GOAT doesn't make you the GOAT. You have to do what he did. You know, you have to have a run like he did. And sure enough, Max did. And then, you know, of course, we had Volkanovski, huge debate. But now that Ilia knocked out both Max and Volkanovski, I mean, unless he loses 2 fights in a row, or like unless he drops the ball somehow, he's gonna be the GOAT. If he wins 4 or 5 more fights, he'll be the GOAT. Which it seems like he has a good runway to get 5 more title defenses at 145. Because, I think Diego Lopez is a very good challenger. I think Mosar actually is a very dangerous challenger because of his fighting style. Because he's very good at holding and pinning, and he's got power too. But I think he'll get outboxed by Ilia. But I'd see Ilia beating those guys and just cleaning out the division. Now, he might fight Volkanovski again. They brought Volkanovski in. Is that the fight everybody wants to see? I'm assuming that's what they're going to do. But I like Ilia's chances in that fight for sure. Ilia versus Islam Makhachev prediction. I think Islam's toughest fight. That's from Jonathan. Well, we covered that already. Coach, simple question. Can anybody beat Shamaev? That's some Shitwan Peralta. Anybody's beatable. Okay, anybody can have a loss, but DDP is gonna be a tough opponent. DDP is strong, man. DDP is very physical. He's gonna be hard to overpower, but I do see Shamaev taking him down, controlling him, leg riding, taking the back. Does he get the sub? I don't know. And the thing is, DDP does get also a little bit tired. They say, oh, it's because he's breathing. His nose might be his nose. He did a surgery on his nose. He says he's a lot better now. But I still felt with Adesanya, he slowed down a bit. I can't remember. I think it was round 4. Like, he slowed down a bit before he had the takedown and sub. Like, I felt like he had slowed down. I'd have to rewatch it, but I remember thinking he was slowing down.